Welcome to another edition of Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage with former U.S. men's national team assistant coach Jesse Marsch. I'm Jason Saghini. Doing a little fan feedback session today, Jesse. Of course, I should mention to the fans that we are giving away Castrol items, Castrol World Cup gear. So if we use your question or comment on today's show, we will send you some. And of course, you can comment in the comment section below, or you can use the hashtag BrazilBound to ask us questions or comment on any of the videos. If we use your questions in future episodes, you too will win some Castrol World Cup swag. Jesse, we'll get right into it. I haven't prepped you on these questions. I think that's the best way to go. First one coming in from PTFC92. They say, so I would like to know, what is the answer to our back four situation, specifically the outside backs?
It's a good question, and to be honest, I'm not totally sure. It's interesting that they had a certain group that they used a lot during qualifying, and now in these warm-up matches, they've changed a lot. So there's a lot of question marks there. I think Fabian Johnson is one of the answers, and I find it a little perplexing on why they're playing Fabian Johnson on the right and Timothy Chandler on the left. I mean, Fabian is clearly a two-footed player, and Timothy Chandler is clearly a right-footed guy. So you would think that it would tend more toward Timmy being on the right, but they've used him on the left. And I still think you've got to consider DeMarcus Beasley. Even though he's not a natural left back, he's an experienced guy. He can get up and down. You know when he gets forward that he'll be able to help and get some good service in and possibly even make some cutting runs to get to goal. So, yeah, I would probably lean toward Beasley on the left, Johnson on the right, and then Beasler and Cameron at this point.
Okay, next question, similar topic. Sam Almeter on Twitter, at Sam Almeter18, says Yedlin needs to get more playing time. He may be the only back that will be able to keep up with the fast wingers in our group.
Yeah, I have concerns about Yedlin's overall ability to size up what's happening in the game, especially defensively. I can see how Yedlin could potentially be a very good guy to put on late if you're trying to push the game or if it's tied and you need a result, because he can really use his speed to get into the attack and potentially be a threat to get behind and hopefully recover it when he needs to as well. So I wouldn't agree with the fact, though, that he's one of the top candidates to play right back.
All right, number 3, Andrew Wen says, I would love to hear Jesse's take on this formation, a 4-3-2-1, a little bit of a Christmas tree there. Okay. Altidore alone up top with Mix Diskerud and Dempsey supporting him in the attack. Bradley then can also come up straight forward from the middle of the field in that line of 3 to join the attack. He says defensively, we would be solid as a rock.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of a curveball. And we've talked so much about formations, and we've almost beat it to death. But I think what's more important is the approach of the formation, right? And so I think that we don't want to play a wide open game that's back and forth, because I think that feeds a lot into the strengths of the opponents that we're going to be playing. And I would tend more to, whatever the formation is, I would probably lean to a 4-2-3-1, but that it's a little bit more compact and that we try to make spaces tight in the midfield and win balls and then look to go from there. So I'm not quite sure about playing the Christmas tree. But again, it's more about the approach than the formation.
Okay. Fourth one coming in here from DigiPrez77 says, I'm concerned about Jozy and Davis. Neither of them have the wheels to play both ways. If they're playing up, they can't quite get back on defense. If they're playing back, they can't quite get up on offense. Turkey's wide players were so wide open because Jozy and Davis were nowhere to be found half the time. They are both supposed to play wide, but neither can do it at this level. They physically can just not keep up with the play. What are your thoughts there on the outside midfield?
Well, being at the game live, I did question whether Jozy and Davis were clear on what their roles were. So along with the athleticism was the clarity of what their roles are in the formation. So, at times I felt like they were pinched in too far, or one was pinched in and one was pushed out. And so there seemed to be, they weren't on the same page. And so, I think Jozy's been a big part of this team in qualifying, and I think he can be a big part of the team in the World Cup. It's just a matter of now kind of putting guys on the field, making sure that there's cohesiveness and that they understand how to move together, how to shift, and then how to play to each other's strengths and hide each other's weaknesses. Because that's ultimately what will make the team successful, is can we play to as many of our players' strengths as possible.
So not necessarily about their physical abilities, more the tactical awareness and the cohesion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Davis I think is a good soccer player and is good on set pieces. Is his athletic package overall enough, for these games? I'm not quite sure on that one. I think Zusi's can manage it. So, I mean, I see the question marks, but I think they both will play a role and they both have something to offer.
All right, number 5 comes in from Joseph Chiappetta. I wonder if that's really his last name. Chiappetta.
I like that.
Jozy played great. Oh yeah, I'm putting this one in here because Jozy gets a lot of grief. I thought this was a good one coming out of this game. Jozy played great. Unlucky not to score, but he held it up beautifully for the attack, which we need him to do, especially with Dempsey alongside of him, below him in the midfield. Your thoughts on Jozy's performance in this last game?
Well, to start with, if you asked the 2 Turkish center backs what it was like to play against Jozy on the day, they would have said it would have been a very difficult day and that he was tough to manage. So that's what I like to see in Jozy, is when he's not so stationary, but that he's moving around, he's using his speed and his power, and he's making it difficult on defenders. And not only does it open up things for him, but it opens up things for Clint and Michael and other guys to join in when they're so concerned about where Jozy is and how to deal with him physically. So, I mean, I think you need to look for that. It's not just the impact that Jozy has on the game personally, but the impact that he has in making space for other guys. And I think that will determine the success of how he does and how the team does an attack.
Okay, next one coming in from Twitter, at Ardizone Tyler says, I think Bradley and Beckerman have great chemistry with each other. Where could you see Beckerman playing in the diamond? I'm going to throw in this next question. I'm assuming we know Beckerman's going to play at the bottom of the diamond, but I assume it's where in the matches they have coming up. Okay. I'm going to throw in this next one along with it because it's similar, and it's from at ASA and Hunt on Twitter. I like Jones's athleticism, but versus Azerbaijan, he was too antsy to get forward. Doesn't look like a true number 5. In Brazil, do you think he starts over Kyle Beckerman? So again, we're talking about the holding midfielder situation here. Do you think Beckerman is going to find some time?
I think there's potential for Beckerman to find some time. And I think when he came in, the adjustment that the team made to play Michael a little bit deeper helps Kyle a little bit. And I like the fact that Kyle understands that his role is when he gets the ball to give it to Michael Bradley. And he did that a number of times. And the more touches that Michael gets in the game and in transition, the better the team will be. So I like that he understands his role. But I think that Jermaine Jones's athleticism and his impression on the game and the package of what he brings athletically is going to be very important for these games. And so for me, my starting point would be to play with Jermaine and Michael and give them another game against Nigeria where now the roles are a little bit clearer and Michael's a little bit deeper but ready to be on the move. And still keeping Jermaine, though, as the main anchor of the midfield, even when they're playing next to each other. So, and if that doesn't pan out, then I think, again, you got to look at Kyle. But for me, the starting point would still be Jermaine.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jesse, for taking the time here. Remember, you can leave questions and comments in the comment section below. If we use them on the show, we will send you some Castrol World Cup swag. You can also use the hashtag BrazilBound on Twitter. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode looking at proactive soccer versus the counterattacking style and which one suits this U.S. team best.